Hari Om. Jagat Karanam Karana Jnana Rupam Suradim Sukhadim Gunesham Ganesham Jagat Vyapinam Vishwavangyam Suresham Parabrahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema Parabrahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to DISHA 4 of new series, which is an inward journey to discover our inner strength and happiness through Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday, all of us have celebrated a great day. Yesterday was Chaitra Shuddha Navami. This was the day the highest decorum, etiquettes took its birth. This was the day all the virtues, values, valor took a human form to demonstrate to this world that how a human being should live. Yes, I am talking of Raja Ram, Maryada Purushottam, Ram, a role model of all Indians, for that matter, the whole world, whose birthday we celebrated yesterday as Ramanavami. Sri Ram was the embodiment of Putra Dharma, Shishya Dharma, Bhratra Dharma, Pati Dharma, Mitra Dharma, Raja Dharma, Pita Dharma, and Rashtra Dharma. If there is a flawless, impeccable personality, it is none other than Sri Ram. He is a dictionary to life. He showed us how to love your parents, brothers, wife, friends, animals, nature, and one's own country. Remember his words to Lakshmana, Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargadapi Ghariyasi. He demonstrated how to worship your duty, come what may. Righteousness was the essence of Rama's life. That's why we yearn for Ramarajya. All of us want our kids to be Rams. He is the very Sthita Prajna Krishna describes at the end of 2nd chapter of Gita. Just chanting Ramanama liberates us from this world. That's why we call Ramanama Sankirtana as Rama Taraka Mantra. If Vedavyasa has given us Krishna, Maharshi Valmiki has given us Rama. Hence, we bow to that great sage Valmiki, Pujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Arushya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmika Kokilam. On this auspicious day, let us install and coronate Sri Ram in our hearts and move towards Ramatva. That is being Ram. To help us in this journey, Bhagavad Gita is the best vehicle. Let us continue our revision of 2nd chapter with the verses 17 to 25 with Dr. Ravi Shankar. He will also touch upon the remaining portion of Atma, followed by story time by Dr. Hegde sir and teaching quiz by Sri Shivakumar. Now, before Dr. Hegde sir introduces the day's topic, Srimati Indumati will explain the Shloka of the day, Akashat Patitam Toyam. Indu madam.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Akashat Patitam Toyam Yatha Gacchati Sagaram Sarvadeva Namaskaraha Keshavam Pratigacchati. This shloka tells us about Lord Keshava, who is known to be Lord Vishnu also. This shloka is included in the Mahasubhashita Sangraha, which has important Sanskrit Subhashitas selected and collected from various sources. This shloka is very meaningful and can be interpreted in many ways. Let us see the word-by-word meaning of the same. Akashat refers to the sky. Patitam, which is falling. Toyam means water. Yatha, the manner in which. Gacchati, it goes to the Sagaram, that is the ocean. Sarvadeva Namaskaraha, salutations to all gods and goddesses. Keshavam Pratigacchati, it goes or returns to Keshava only. As all the raindrops or rain falling from the sky reaches the ocean, so also the prayers to all the gods ultimately reaches the Lord Keshava, meaning as the water reaches the ocean, which is supreme, in the same way all salutations reach the Lord Vishnu. In the second slide, we see certain interpretations, like all the drops of water falling on earth ultimately merges with the sea. All of us have emerged from the divine and will one day revert to him alone. Next, we can see that just as the rivers discard their individual names to merge with the sea, so too the wise men discard their egos to merge with the ultimate. Next, we can see that the Lord makes a similar statement. We are reminded of a similar statement from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 22, where he says, Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Mihate Labhate cha tatat kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Here, the Lord adds that in all cases, the desires are being verily dispensed by me alone. To whomever you may prostrate, to whomever you may salute, all those salutations reaches me. Thus, to sum up, we see that the approaches and origins may be to different gods like Ganapati, Krishna, Saraswati, Ishvara, Durga Mata, Anjaneya, Sri Rama, anyone, but they all reach the same God. The destination will be one and the only Keshava. Again, Sarvadeva Namaskaraha Keshavam Pratigacchati. Thank you, sir. Namaste. Hari Om.
Thank you, Indumati, for introducing a very beautiful prayer and a very clear explanation about this prayer. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. The objective of DISHA is to discover inner strength and happiness through the Bhagavad Gita. The focus is on the basic topics of Tattvabodha. In the last class, we studied about Atma. In today's class, we will study a little more details about our essential nature being the essential nature of Paramatma also. I heard this story when I was in school. And this, now with the present understanding of Atma, this story becomes more meaningful. This is a story of a man who constantly prayed to become rich. All his dreams were that one day I'm going to become rich. And one day he saw God in his dreams, telling him, tomorrow evening at sunset, go to the edge of the forest. You will see a sadhu sannyas coming out of the forest. Go see him. He will give you something that will make you very rich. It was a dream, but then he did not want to miss a chance. What he did was he, as instructed in the dream, around sunset, he was waiting. And as predicted, at sunset comes out a sadhu sannyas through the edge of the forest. Very happily, he goes running to him and says, Maharaj, there is something you're supposed to give me that will make me very rich. The man said, I am a sadhu sannyas, I have nothing. He says, no, I'm certain there is something that if you give me, I will become very rich. The man says, see, I'm carrying just a few old clothes, nothing else. He says, can I check your belongings? He said, of course you could. When he opened his belongings, to his amazement, he found a huge diamond. The man asked him, what is this? Oh, he says, oh, this. As I was walking now through the forest path, I saw something glistening and I picked it up. He says, can I take it? He says, of course you can. The man was overjoyed because now he became one of the richest men in the world. The diamond was so precious. But something disturbed him and disturbed him very much. This man, this sadhu sannyas, gave him something so priceless. He gave him something. He gave it to a total stranger whom he does not even know. And you know how he gave it? He gave it so casually. He was wondering, what is it that makes him so rich that he can give away something so precious? He goes back to him because only he can answer this question. He says, Maharaj, yesterday you gave me something that made me one of the richest men in the world. But what amazed me is the manner in which you gave me. What is that which makes you so rich? I want that. And the sadhu sannyas looks into the eyes of the person and he says, you are that. This is the Mahavakya. We are already that which we can possibly be. Very difficult to believe, but this is the Mahavakyas. All our scriptures, the Gita, the Upanishads, tell us that the greatest human accomplishment is one who understands these Mahavakyas and who lives this Mahavakyas. A jñāni is one who understands that my essential nature is that of Bhagwan. That means Atma and Brahman are one and the same. How is that Atma and Brahman can be one and the same? The same consciousness that manifests through this limited body is called as Jivatma. The same consciousness which manifests through the whole, the Prapanchatraya, is called Paramatma. But we must understand that the three bodies and the three universes are anatma. And anatma is of a lower order of reality compared to consciousness. This is what we will be understanding and studying in this class. Once we finish the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we enter the 13th chapter. And in the 13th chapter, the focus is on jñāna yoga. And in the 4th verse, Sri Krishna declares, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra kshetrajño jñānam yat jñānam tad matam mama. In my opinion, that distinction between the field of the experience and the one who is experiencing, the experiencer, which is also called as Drik Drishya Viveka. This is also called Jnanam, and in the 7th verse of the Mandukya Upanishad, it's called Vigneyam. And this is perhaps the most important thing worth knowing. That consciousness, that energy because of which I'm able to speak, that consciousness because of which you are able to listen, is the real me. And that is what is the Sri Krishna principle. Sri Krishna declares, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. The Atma Tattva in all of us is none other than the Sri Krishna principle. This is what we are going to study in class today, and it will be explained to us by Dr. Ravi Shankar. Over to you, Dr. Ravi Shankar.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bhagavad-pada Shankara established the 4 Amnaya Mathas in the corners of our country 1200 years ago, laying a beautiful spiritual infrastructure, not just for the Indian subcontinent at that time, but for ages and ages for human mankind. For that matter, for all the jivas. We see in the next slide that each of these Amnaya Mathas has a Veda, and it has got a Mahavakya. Prajñānam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tat Tattvamasi, and I am Atma Brahma. We notice in the next slide that even Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, meaning all is Brahman, the totality is Brahman from the Chandogya. Nehananasti Kinchan, there is nothing else anywhere in the Chandogya. Or Duradrishyam Grahapati Matharpyum. Far, far away is the indweller of the house, the self, which is seen reverberating as in the Rishi Vashishtya. So everything that deals with Jivatma and Paramatma and brings about its Aikyam is a Mahavakya. We move to the next to notice that these 4 particular great aphorisms or the Mahavakyas highlight that each of them has a purpose. In the next slide, we see that Prajñānam Brahman indicates that Brahman is intelligence. And this is declarative. It is a Lakshana Vakya. It stands aside. The other 3, Aham Brahmasmi, mark Aham, I am Brahma. It is experiential. It is Anubhava. I am Atma Brahma, mark Atma. Atma and Brahma are the same. This is practical and it is Abhyasa. Tat Tvamasi, you are that, mark Tvam. And this is instructive. It is an Upadesha Vakya. We now discuss about this Aham, this Atma or this Tvam. In the next slide, we notice that there is something which is different from Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira. And what is this Vyatirikta? What is different from that? That is the fourth factor in human personality. If Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira is considered and it is Anatma and put aside into a basket, what remains is Atma. It is a lender of consciousness. It is that invisible electricity which is responsible for the visible bulb and the filament that glows. It is the blessing principle. We notice that the nature of consciousness is Chaitanya Sarupa, it is Chitrupa, it is Swatantraha, it is independent, it is Nirguna, non-material, it is beyond the three spatial, the spaces that we know. It is Nityaha, it is ever-existent, it is beyond time, or it is Kala Atita. And since time and space are closely interconnected, it is boundless, it is Sarvagata, it is beyond time and space. So this consciousness principle is the same behind all the bodies. And that is why Atma is Ekaha, Advitiya, Advaita, and that is how Bhagavad-pada Shankara gave us the Ekatma Bhava. We move on to notice that if biodata of an Atma has to be described, it is I am consciousness itself, I am independent, I am non-material, I am ever-existent, I am boundless, I am one. We must have the capacity to claim this birthright through Nididhyasana. As we notice, there are two fundamental laws so well and clearly explained by Pujya Swamiji Paramarthanandaji. I am different from whatever I experience. And I, the experiencer, am free from the attributes of the experienced objects. I am Atma, Atma Asmi, in the form of Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. We further move on to understand the 5 principles of Atma, which has been so clearly explained by our teacher in the previous session. And I am highlighting it again only for reinforcing. Atma is eternal and all-pervading consciousness. It is the only source of permanent peace, happiness, and security. It enlivens this body-mind complex to experience this entire universe and transact through this body. It is never affected by the events that happen in the universe or in our body-mind complex. If we know this, life becomes a leela. If we don't know this, life is samsara and hence a big burden. We now go on to understand what has been mentioned in Tattvabodha. The question is, Atma tarhi kaha, what then is this self? And the answer given is, it is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. It has been explained as it is beyond the 3 bodies, the Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira. It is beyond the 5 sheets, the Panchakoshas, and it is beyond the 3 states, the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. If we explain this Atma with respect to the world, it is called as the Tathastha Lakshana. However, when Atma is directly explained as the infinite and the Swarupa is being explained, it is the Swarupa Lakshana which has been taken up in Tattvabodha. In the next slide, we notice the question, what is Sat? Sat Kim? What is existence? And then the answer given is that which remains in all the 3 periods of time. Kalatraya api tishtati iti Sat, iti existence. Nama Rupa has a change. Nitya is timeless. Atma is timeless. It is avikari. It is changeless. It has no name. It is anami. It is nirakara, formless. It is nirguda. The isness, there is, I am, is Sat. We go to the next question, which is Chit Kim. What is consciousness? It is of the nature of absolute knowledge, jñāna swarupa. Knowledge comes through thoughts. but there is an illuminator of all those thoughts, as well as an illuminator of the absence of thoughts. This illuminator does not need anything to illumine because it is the self. It is the shining self itself, like the sun. I am. I slept well. This is the knowledge principle, which is consciousness. The question next that follows is Ananda Haka. What is bliss? Bliss is the nature of absolute happiness or bliss, that is Sukha Swarupa. Our teacher always tells us, whom do you love the most? And the answer is, you love yourself the most. So all others are loved for one's own sake. There is absolute happiness in ourselves, and that happiness is the true nature. Sorrow is finite and it is a burden. Remember, Vishaya Ananda that comes from the Jagat is finite and wrongly identified as real happiness. As we move on, we notice that evam satchitananda swarupam swatmanam vijaniyat. Nature of Satchit Ananda should one know oneself to be. Now, rose has qualities. It has smell, it has a color, it has softness of touch, and these qualities are of a substance. But existence, consciousness, and bliss has no attributes. All of them are the same, but from different standpoints. Experience is intellectual. It is a paroksha jnana. Only with nididhyasana, when it is deep-rooted and it's a direct experience, can it become aparokshanubhuti. We go to the next level and try to understand that Bhagwan Sri Krishna was trying to encourage Arjuna to fight the dharma yuddha, and he gave this three-pronged attack: the worldly laukika angle, the dharmic or the ethical angle. But what is of importance in today's discussion is the philosophical angle, the adhyatmic angle, the atma anatma vivekaha, and that is the understanding of the atma swarupa. Our teacher has beautifully brought out the samanvaya of the atma through the Tattvabodha and the following verses of the Bhagavad Gita. In the next slide, we notice the 17th verse of the Sankhya Yoga. Avinashi tu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashim avyasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. These are the important aspects of Atma which we would understand with the base of Atma as we have seen in the Tattvabodha just now. Atma is eternal is the highlight of this verse. Atma is indestructible. It is avinashi. It is all-pervading. It is imperishable. And there is no one who has the power to destroy it. This Atma is in many bodies, but Atma is one. It is sarvagatam. It is all-pervading. In the next verse, we notice antavanta ime deha. Atma is eternal is highlighted again. Antavanta is the indication of death of many bodies. But Atma, which is all-pervading, is the embodied shariri. It is embodied in the body. Now the body, does it contain or jail the Atma? Or does the body belong to this all-pervading Atma? Is an understanding that we should have. So Atma is also aprameya. It is indefinable. While prameya is the object of knowledge, aprameya has an unseen camera that takes the photograph. Therefore, we now understand that Atma is nitya, satya, sarvagataha, aprameya. We notice in the next slide, the next verse, ya enam veti hantaram, yaschaina manyate hatam, ubhauto na vijjanati nayam hanti na hanyate. Enam is the word here. And this enam here means this embodied Atma. Atma does not kill, nor is it killed. So Atma has no action, which means it does not reap any results of not doing any action. In the 20th verse, na jayate mriyate va kadachina nanya bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha. These first two lines, notice that there is a change in the length of the verse as well as the meter. And it explains that Atma is neither born nor does it die. Neither does it come into existence, nor does it disappear. Then what is Atma? Explained in the next two verses. Ajaha, it is unborn. It is nityaha, eternal. It is shashvataha, it is everlasting. It is puranaha, it is ancient. This is a very important verse because it is Upanishadic. It has a philosophical approach. While the body has asti, jayate, vardate, viparimate, apakshiyate, vinashyate. That means it starts as a seed form, there is birth, it grows, it changes in shape and size, it decays with age, and then there is death. There is no modification of Atma. That is the highlight of this verse. In the 21st verse, two words that come here, ghatayati and hanti. Hanti means there is a direct action, there is karta. Ghatayati is karayati, that means there is a indirect action. So the body can be encouraged to do action like a karta or can be encouraged by somebody to do an action, but that doesn't happen to the Atma. So Atma continues to be nityaha. Enam, the word here means soul, it is ajanam, and it is avyayam, which is it is free from decay. What is important is the first word, Veda, and this word indicates that we should understand that Atma is akarta, abhokta, and this particular knowledge is the most important for us to understand in this word, in this verse. In the 22nd verse, Vasamsi jñāni yatha vihaya navani grahnani naroparani. Like we change old clothes and put on new clothes, the Atma discards the body and takes on new bodies. The body here is the Deha. The Atma or the embodied soul is the Dehi. We must identify with the Dehi and never with the Deha, never with the body. If we understand the body in a slightly different angle, as per the law of karma, we would realize that the Sthula Sharira is discarded. The Sukshma Sharira with the mind, with the Vasanas, with the Karana Sharira, and the Atma transmigrates. However, as we have understood that Atma by itself is all-pervading, there is no transmigration of the Atma itself. It would actually enliven the other three. So the body dies, Atma remains all-pervading. And this is what we must claim by Nididhyasana. In the 23rd verse, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha. The word na enam, enam is the soul. And Bhagavan Shri Krishna says because of the situation of the war, that the Atma is not cut by weapon, it is not burned by fire, it is not wet or drowned by water, and it is not dried by the wind. They are all things that happen to the body. Atma is so closely associated to the body, but it is not affected by the body. In the 24th verse, Achedyo ayamakaryo, this particular line is actually a explanation and reinforcement of the previous verse. But what is that we have to understand is the second line. It is nityaha, Atma is sarvagataha, it is thanuhu, and it is achalam, it is sanatanam. So Atma is eternal, it is omnipresent. Sthanaha means immovable, it is changeless, it is constant, and it is sanatanaha. This word sanatanaha means everlasting, just like the Vedas, just like the Sanatana Dharma, and just like the values that exist in our system. This is the real aspect, the meaning of the Atma in this verse. In the 25th verse, Avyaktaha achintya avikarya ayamuchyate. Atma is unmanifest. It is unthinkable, which means it cannot be understood by the sense organs. It cannot be conceived by our senses. It does not have any changes like the body, avikarya. And then Sri Krishna says, having said this, ayamuchyate, having said this, O Arjuna, get up and fight this dharma yuddha. Do not grieve, na tu shochitum arhasi. This would be a fair idea of the essence of Atma as taught in the Tattvabodha, as well as highlighted by these specific verses of the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, with the sole intention of Arjuna being told to understand, and hence all of us being told to understand, that Atma is the most important. In the next slide, we notice that Atma is imperishable, anashinaha, indefinable, aprameyasya, eternal, nityasya. It is the embodied soul, shariri. It is unborn, ajaha. It is everlasting, shaswataha. It is ancient, puranaha, free from decay, avyayam. It is dehi, the embodied soul. It is omnipresent, sarvagataha. It is immovable, sthanaha. It is constant, achalam. It is everlasting, sanatanam. It is unmanifest, avyaktaha. It is unthinkable, achintyam. It is immutable, avikaram. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We now move on to the teaching quiz by Shri Shiv Kumar. But we would like to also remember in the previous slide that little beautiful Srimad Bhagavata Paracharya told Atma Shatakam, which tells the Neti Neti principle, na mano buddhir ahamkar na chittani naham, and continues to say that aham nirvikalpo nirakaro vibhurakta sarvatra sarvendriyanam sadame samatvam na muktir na bandhas chidanand rupam shivoham shivo. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar. That was an excellent presentation on the Atma, and you nicely correlated with the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Now let us see how much we have understood. Vasumati and Shiv Kumar have put out a nice quiz for us, and it will be presented to us by Shiv Kumar. Shiv, you can please lead us with the questions and answers on this topic.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In verse 17, Krishna goes through an exercise of Atma, Anatma, Viveka. What does Krishna expect Arjuna to understand from this verse? Answer: Krishna expects Arjuna to understand, I am not this perishable body, I am not even this mind, which is a temporary instrument, but I am the Atma Tattvam, which is different from both. It is all-pervading and indestructible. What does the word Shariri in verse 18 denote? Shariram means body. Shariri means that which is within the body. Therefore, the Atma is Shariri, within the body. And here, within the body should be translated as within the body also. Because previously Krishna said that Atma is all-pervading. Similarly, Deha in this verse also means the body. And Dehi, used in verse 22, refers to Atma. Question 3. What reasoning does Krishna give in verse 18 to convince Arjuna to fight the battle? As Atma is immortal, as body, I am mortal. The wisest thing to do is to accept Atma as it is and to accept the body as it is. Never complain and gracefully accept the mortality of the body. The question 4. Aprameya is an important feature of Atma. What does it mean? Aprameya means never an object of knowledge, a thing which will never come in the field of experience, but whose existence can never be questioned. That is called the observer, the experiencer, the consciousness principle, and therefore Atma is called Aprameya. Ever the experiencer, never the experienced. Ever the drik, never the drishyam, ever the subject, and never the object. It is just like a photo. In the photo, the camera is never seen, but its existence can never be questioned. What are the two important aspects of Atma highlighted in this verse 19? They are Atma is Akarta and Atma is Abhokta. The sixth question, what technique is used to highlight the verse 20? The highlighting is by change in the meter. The verse is longer. The essence of this verse is that Atma is free from all modifications. Coming to question 7. The aim of the spiritual seeker is to know Vedaha. What is this? Know what? To know the Atma, which is Avinashinam, indestructible, Nityam, eternal, Ajam, unborn, Avyayam, without decay. The next question, what is the Jnana Yoga sadhana in shifting the I from matter to consciousness, from the changing anatma to changeless Atma, called as Nididhyasanam? The next question in the verse 22, after the fall of the body, what travels and what law governs its travel? Sukshma Shariram, consisting of mind, prana, etc., travels. It travels according to the law of karma. Question 10. What happens to Atma after death? Where does Atma travel? Atma cannot travel because it is all-pervading. As far as Atma is concerned, it remains without any change. In this verse, what does word sthanu denote? The answer, sthanu means changeless, means ever the same. One of the names of Lord Shiva is Sthanu Sthanunataha. Coming to Tattvabodha, the question is, I own the body, but I am not the body. My nature is anatma, the spirit which is consciousness. Can this truth be explained with a simple example? A clue is there in the picture. Just as I wear spectacles, use the spectacles, I use my body as an instrument, and I am different from it. What are the three aspects of the essential nature of Atma? They are Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Question 14. What is the only source of Ananda? The answer, the only source of Ananda is Atma, Atmananda. The Atma is myself. I am of the nature of Ananda. Since conducive situations, Vishyananda, give that state of mind, we wrongly attribute Ananda to the external world. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you very much, Shiv Kumar, for a nice question answer session, which helps us to revise our understanding of the Atma. Our next class will be on the 15th of April, where we will have the next 5 verses of the 12th chapter from 11 to 15 on the Bhakti Yoga.
Thank you, Shiv, for a valid, informative teaching quiz covering the entire talk of Dr. Ravi Shankar. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar, sir, for a wonderful talk. My dear friends, hope you enjoyed the session. We'll come back with DISHA 5 on Monday, 18th of April 2022. Before that, this Friday on 15th of April, we will carry on with our study of Bhakti Yoga. Please log in by 6:45 p.m. on Friday. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.